All right, let's talk about VRChat. We're diving into this sprawling virtual universe that, isn't really a game. It's a metaverse. And the wildest part is that it's built almost entirely by the people who use it. It's this amazing place of creativity, social connection, and yeah, some pretty fascinating challenges. So let's get into how it all works. So check this out. At its absolute peak, there were almost 150,000 people logged into VRChat at the exact same moment. I mean, that's a staggering number for any platform. So what's the big deal? What is it that brings all of these people together in this one virtual space? Well, a huge piece of the puzzle is these massive, user-driven events. Take something called the virtual market. For just a limited time, creators and even huge companies like Yamaha go in and build these incredible, sprawling virtual worlds. I mean, imagine walking through a digital department store made of pure light, or trying out a virtual piano that sounds exactly like the real thing. It's basically a festival of creativity. Now, here's the real kicker, the thing that makes VRChat so different from most online games. The vast majority of everything you see and do, the avatars you wear, the worlds you explore, the games you play inside it, none of that is made by the VRChat company. Nope, it's all built from the ground up by the community. So let's take a look at the tools that actually make this all possible. This brings us right to the very heart of VRChat, the creators. These are the architects of this whole universe. And they have to rely on a super powerful, but let's be honest, an incredibly complex set of tools to bring their ideas to life. So the engine behind all this magic is a visual scripting language called Udon. It's what lets creators build everything from, say, a simple interactive puzzle to entire fully featured games, all inside VRChat. For years, creators have been pushing Udon to its absolute limits. And the VRChat team finally announced a massive upgrade that was supposed to unlock even more potential. It was called Udon 2, and the hype was real. It promised huge performance gains, cool new features. The community was beyond excited. But what was supposed to take a few months dragged on for 2 years. And then the team dropped a bombshell announcement that just sent shockwaves through the community. They pulled the plug. They just canceled their most anticipated feature. What on earth could have gone so wrong that they had to scrap a project they'd spent 2 years working on? Well, I mean, just look at this list. It was a total cascade of failures. The performance boosts they promised? Yeah, those only showed up in perfect, unrealistic lab conditions. Even worse, it actually broke existing worlds, making some run up to 10 times slower. It was a memory hog, and to top it all off, it would have forced every single creator to painstakingly rewrite all of their old work. It was, simply put, a disaster in the making. It was a really hard lesson for them in the old sunk cost fallacy, the idea that you shouldn't keep throwing good money after bad just because you've already invested so much. So they pivoted. They moved to a new, more stable system called SOBA. And this whole saga really just highlights the immense technical challenge of building a platform that runs on pure user creativity. But here's the thing. The technology is only half the story. The real heart of VRChat is the people. VRChat is, when you get right down to it, defined by its community. And that community is, at the exact same time, its greatest, most beautiful strength and its most significant ongoing challenge. To really get a feel for this dynamic, it actually helps to compare VRChat to a much smaller competitor called Resonate, which was actually born from a very similar community. And this lays out a classic trade-off, right? VRChat has this unbelievable scale, endless variety, and a huge global audience. But with that scale comes some serious moderation challenges. On the flip side, you have Resonate, which everyone praises for its tight-knit, collaborative community. The catch, it's got a much steeper learning curve and a tiny fraction of the users. And you really hear this from the users themselves. This one comment from a Reddit user just nails it. There's this real nostalgia among VRChat veterans for how the platform used to be, back in the early days when it was smaller, before it exploded in popularity and the challenges of managing millions of people became so obvious. And this is the paradox. With all these powerful tools to build literally anything you can imagine, what do most people actually do? They all flock to these simple worlds that just have mirrors and video players so they can hang out and talk. It just proves that people are really there for other people. But with that many users, how in the world does VRChat manage the chaos? Let's look at their safety systems. Okay, so governing a virtual universe of this size is not simple. It takes a multi-layered approach to safety with a whole lot of rules, guidelines, and a heavy, heavy reliance on the community itself to be the first line of defense. VRChat's rulebook basically has 3 layers. First, you've got the super dense legal terms of service that everyone clicks agree on. Then, you have the community guidelines, which boils it all down to simple ideas like no hate, no harm. And finally, there are specific rules just for the people who are actually building and uploading the content. But, rules are only as good as their enforcement. So, the main tool for moderation is user reporting. The whole system is built right into the interface, so anyone can report another user for breaking the rules. That report then gets sent off to the VRChat moderation team and they take a look. But, and this is a really, really important but, there's a hard line that VRChat's own safety team absolutely cannot cross. They operate entirely inside the platform. They can't see your real name, they don't know your location, they can't access any of your personal data. And this creates a critical limitation when it comes to emergencies. And this is a pretty stark reminder, right from VRChat's own safety guide. If there's a real-world emergency, the moderation team is powerless. The responsibility actually falls on other users to contact their local authorities. It really highlights that delicate line between the virtual and the physical worlds, a line that gets even blurrier as the platform grows. So what does that future look like for VRChat? VRChat is just constantly evolving. It's facing these dual pressures of rapidly changing tech and a user base that just keeps getting bigger and bigger. And that creates some pretty fundamental tensions for the whole platform. So one of the biggest technical headaches for creators right now is this right here. An estimated 70%, a huge majority, of all VRChat users are on the MetaQuest. That's a standalone VR headset that's just way less powerful than a gaming PC. This means creators have to drastically simplify their worlds. They have to hold back if they want most of the audience to even be able to get in the door. And this push for accessibility, it's speeding up. After conquering PC and standalone VR, VRChat has now expanded to Android and iOS mobile devices. The strategy is crystal clear. Get VRChat into the hands of everyone, everywhere, whether you have a headset or not. But all of this creates the ultimate balancing act. Every new platform brings in a flood of new users, which is fantastic for growth, of course. But it also puts an incredible strain on the creators who have to build for even more devices and on the moderation systems that are trying to manage an ever larger, more diverse community. And that really leaves us with the million-dollar question for VRChat, doesn't it? As it keeps growing, can it possibly balance that wild, total creative freedom that makes it so special with the very real need for a safe and welcoming community for millions of people? That is the challenge they face as they continue to build their corner of the metaverse. Thanks for joining us for this explainer.